Last time I worked on my 3D diorama project, I had this tower and the twisting green lands around it. Right in the middle of it, I briefly stopped in order to create a portal VFX and a blueprint that teleports the player from one location to another. In this video, we will explore how I moved from the tower and how I created this smaller cut of diorama. It is in the shape of a gateway used as a centerpiece. A curvy pathway leads to it. There are red crystals scattered on grassy hilltops. Golden trim ornament lamps with levitating red crystals decorates the sides of the elegant path. Creating that portal was relatively quick, but I also made tutorials on the topic, and that took months to edit and publish. I used those months to take a break from the tower diorama. I knew that when I were to return to it, I would perceive it with a new set of fresh eyes. That would be beneficial and would make my art only better. Truth is, once I returned and I opened the tower level, I was immediately overwhelmed by the amount of unfinished 3D, missing textures and empty skyline. I knew I could easily get through it if I were to focus on a single element of what I was missing, and then I allowed the work to grow from there. Yet I had had flickering ideas of using my newly created portal gateway prop as a centerpiece of a simple showcase image. The kind where you put your 3D prop in the middle and around it there is just a simple floor in the appearance of a colored gradient. With that circling my mind, I decided that indeed it might be a nice approach to give the tower even a longer break than the current pause duration and to use the gateway prop into a diorama of its own. I kind of took my small diorama and I cut it into an even smaller diorama. Funny and ironic. It's a good approach in art though, and in life in general, if I am fair. If it bothers you, cut it up, chop it up into smaller pieces and handle those. Less daunting that way. I started the new mini diorama by placing my gateway onto a dark blue floor. The process of making the gate prop can be seen in the images here. From unoptimized Blender sub-D sketch to ZBrush, hand scope, to then go back to Blender to retopo by hand. From there, I took the resulting low and high poly to Substance Painter and I baked my textures. I'm skimming over these steps and showing you quick art previews on the screen, but if you want to see the process in a bigger detail, check out some of my older devlogs and videos. From there, back to the floor and the diorama cut, I was looking at references like these. After adding my portal, I quickly created a shader for my landscape that supported vertex painting of a grass texture, plus one additional texture in the shape of a simple blue 0.5 on the roughness scale colored material. Once that was done, I was happy and I decided I can decorate further with some tiny mounds of ground. Those would be topped up with some crystals and some rocks. I then sketched out a pathway. On each side of the pathway, I sketched some lamps. I wasn't digging neither the lamps nor the texture of the path at first. I slowly took them to this level of visual that I liked much more, which we can see on the screen. Let's take a look at how I progressed that path texture and that side lamp prop. As most artists do, I have a little bit of a fear of the white blank canvas. As such, I really dislike the idea of starting to paint my cobble path texture from scratch. I wanted to be clever and efficient, and as such, I opened Substance Designer where I could create a tiling pattern, and then on top of that I could paint inside Photoshop. It's a bit questionable whether this helped or sped up the process at all, but let's move along. You will judge for yourself. I made this rhombus-styled pattern of stones. They sit on warm grey soil. Every so often there is a circular stone to be mixed up in there and break up the otherwise uniform square patterns. I did that in Unreal, but I immediately realized it's a bit too busy. The stone shapes are too tiny and they are repeated too many times. I take my Substance Designer result into Photoshop. In there, I turn on the pattern preview feature and I start sketching on top. I'm making star shapes that reuse some of the stone tiles I already sketched in Substance Designer. They're much bigger now though, filling the texture much better and tiling a few times less than before, which results in less of a visual noise. I paint some of the gray and some color on top and I try that in engine again. I'm liking the shapes and from there I start rendering. I'll be honest with you and reveal that this was the first time I'm hand painting a World of Warcraft tiling texture. As such, I found it rather challenging. I've painted for lots of years, since 2013 or so, but the past more recent years I've been exclusively doing 3D art and PBR texturing that are not really hand painted. As such, like most artists do, while I paint this kobo I start to have a lot of doubts. At a few moments I suddenly manage to convince myself that I won't be able to make this kobo or that I just don't have the skill or what it takes to finish this. The way I got through the challenges is through showing up. Even in the moments when it was tough, I knew that if I sit down and I paint an hour of work on the texture, even if it doesn't feel like I'm progressing, I certainly will. After a few critical sessions like that, in the span of a few days, I slowly started to get out of the delta of doubts. Once I found myself having fun with painting, I still realized that the overall shapes of the stars don't quite work in my scene. That is when I sketched on top again and I turned everything into overlapping curves, circles and smooth shapes. Once I had those, it started to move forward a bit better, but I then found myself getting a tiny bit of doubt again. Not certain if what I'm doing is correct. I kept moving and after a few challenges in value and tone of the colors, I got to the result here. I was happy with it. As such, this is your daily artistic reminder, don't give up. And even if it feels challenging, it means you're growing because your eyes are seeing what needs to improve and your mind has moved you past a mere observer and to a skillful craftsman. Next, your hand will follow and your skill set will improve to match what is exactly in your mind. There's no way it won't. Believe in yourself. I wanted to take a tiny break to remind you of a few things I believe are kind of cool. I don't have any sponsors, well, apart from my uncle, thanks to whom we have the video and the audio equipment to record this. So thank you, uncle. But I'll take this little break with you to tell you that last year I made a free video course on creating the portal that is seen in this video. Head over to my YouTube channel and see the entire course there. You'll learn how to make the main mesh, the VFX, and on top some blueprints logic in order to create a gameplay functioning teleport, ready to use in your professional or your passion projects and indie games. Link to that course is in the description. Please remember to like this video and subscribe as well. We're still a tiny channel, we're below 500 subs, so any interactions are incredibly helpful. Now let's continue the art. After I put in the path in the scene, I started thinking how the left and the right side were now predominantly empty. I kept getting flashbacks from very cool tents that I've seen in WoW. They're set up under the sun by adventurers during a research or a mission. I wanted to make a tent like that, but it also was going to overcomplicate the scene. Whatever I'm making for this scene, I wanted to reuse in the other large tower scene. I couldn't know if a tent will fit there well without first testing. As such, I thought I'll keep it simple and attempt to fill the empty space with a smaller on scale and production prop. World of Warcraft, like any fantasy game really, is filled with magical lampposts, and I set off creating exactly one of those. I did a sketch in Blender. I was going for a stylized, chunky, simplistic look. Stone, a gem, and maybe some gold trims in the texture later. I got the idea that if the lamp was asymmetrical, it wasn't a perfect circle, and had some interesting frame extruding only on one side, I could then use it as a better framing device inside of my scene. The lamp frames could point away from the path and thus create a stronger picture. I tested and tested, but I'll be honest with you, I was not impressed with my first attempts. As such, I briefly removed the lamppost entirely from the scene and went back on refining the lamp, and only later I revisited the idea about the lamp. Here are the different iterations of the lamppost that I went through. Once it started to work a bit better, I got the idea that there could be a golden wing of sorts that protrudes upward, serving as the framing device I was talking about earlier. The gateway already had golden trims that twisted around like leaves or like snakes. It really depends on your imagination. I thought it would be best story-wise and visual-wise if I repeated that in the lampposts. All of this work got us where we are now. Next time, I need to refine its shapes and then hand paint it to match the rest of the scene. When I moved from the immense tower diorama and onto this small cut of a diorama, the Time Walking Remix Legion had just started in live World of Warcraft. I played that lots and lots through the development of my 3D scene that we see here. I mean, I played it so much that I unlocked all the achievements available in the Remix Legion category. Whilst playing, my favorite part was Suramar and the entire story of Suramar City. It is a zone filled with beauty and tragedy. And lots of "who goes there" voice line spams, you know the ones?
Something's not quite right.
Who goes there?
Who goes there? An illusion. What are you hiding?
I kept running around and staring at the textures, the props, the foliage, and the overall color choice. I kept taking screenshots. All of those ended up on my mood board, and in the moments I struggled to understand how to do my hand-painted textures, these screenshots and wow give me the answers. I think the experience of playing Legion Remix and maxing it in some cool and fun way, directly and perhaps in some other aspects indirectly, inspired my scene. Our time here was short, and I genuinely feel like I showed just a fraction of the development and of what I wanted to show. But worry not, I'll be back with another video and I will show you how I made the rest of the scene. I also have plenty of parts I need to wrap up and finish in the current art as of the time of making this video. In the next video, we'll talk more about the refinement of the grass texture and how I painted the golden trims and the stone parts that went around the path. We'll also take a look at how I made some foliage in the shape of dark green bushes and some lighter in color, gentle grass that is scattered around. I hope you enjoyed watching and I hope you learned something new. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, I think we're good. Let's see if I can get up without knocking everything down. Should I move the thing? It will probably fall asleep again. It's okay. Is this shirt okay? Am I okay? I don't know. We're going in.